Hey, this is Winston Zeddemore, CEO of Zeddemore Industries and member of the original Ghostbuster team. You're listening to Why We Bust, brought to you by the Windy City Ghostbusters and Memoriam Development. We're talking about members in the community and giving back. So suit up, shut your traps, dial in your PKE, and keep busting. Because it still feels good. And before you ask, no, I did not catch the number of that ghost train. Sorry, I missed it.
Hello, everyone. The Windy City Ghostbusters are excited to present the preeminent show focused on the charitable side of ghostbusting. We're meeting incredible people from all over the world that dress up like khaki-covered exterminators, lugging around 30-pound light-up backpacks, all in the name of putting smiles on faces and helping people. Really, we're here to find out what makes them tick and hear their take on why we bust. I am your host, Patrick Calvert, flying solo, but the central nervous system of the show, James Norman, he's still out there keeping an eye and making sure the show's not going off the rails too much. But you are listening to us on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or one of the major podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. We're trying to make sure there's never a corner you can't turn without being able to find our show. And today we have a great show. It's been an exciting start to the summer here as in the Ghostbusters community. And today we have Dan Liberg from the Buffalo Ghostbusters and Eric Christenson from the Mooglie fan club joining us. And we are going to talk about a lot of things today. But, first and foremost, Eric is a returning guest. Are you the first returning guest, maybe?
I don't know.
No,
maybe.
we've had a couple folks that came back for that roundtable after we spoke with Eric Reich the other day. But one of the few returning guests. So Eric, great to see you again here on the show. And Dan, this is your first time. Welcome to Why We Bust.
We got a first timer over here.
And this, cross it off. Is this the last of the Ghostbusters podcasts for you to?
I don't know. I'm sure there's probably one out there that I haven't done yet. But yeah, I've been fortunate to have been invited to be a guest on many of them.
Yeah. Well, you do interesting things, and people sometimes want to talk to you, and that's sort of what you. Would it be fair to say have fallen into? Because I know yes. I would be shocked if what's happening now was part of the game plan, even your wildest dreams.
This was planned. None of it.
Does he look like a guy with a plan, really?
Well, he's got a very coordinated background there. Both of you do. So I feel like you got to have something going on. But, I do. And that's for anyone listening on the podcast platforms. Hop onto YouTube, Stitcher, Facebook, if you would like to see the video version of this and the quality backgrounds that we've got going on. But for those that don't know, Dan and the Buffalo Ghostbusters several years back just kind of had an interesting low-key idea to just do something nice for the folks in New York City.
It was supposed to be low-key.
And we just couldn't let it lie. We could not let it lie. But could you give us, Dan, kind of give us a little bit of how it all started? You've gone over it, so you don't have to go too in depth. But for those that have not heard you kind of talk about this on other platforms, then it's been long enough ago that some folks might have kind of forgotten where all this started.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it all started back in April of 2021. The world was coming out of the pandemic, and we were having a late night group chat, and one of our guys, Brent, who used to live in Buffalo, he has since moved back to Arizona, so he's technically a member of both franchises. But he was in the group chat and was just like, hey, the Ghostbusters 2 sign that Hook and Ladder 8 has is broken. Has anybody ever thought about trying to donate another sign? Like, what about the Hollywood Collectibles one that was available at the time for $1,000? And, in our group chat, we were like, sure, we could try a GoFundMe. maybe we'll raise $1,000. Probably not, but let's give it a shot.
Never. That's pipe dream.
And here we are. But no, I mean, that year we raised $1,000 in less than a day, and the fundraiser ended up raising $8,000. And we kind of, from there, we're just like, all right, well, there's something else here. We gotta do something with this. So it became an annual fundraiser that we coordinate with Hook and Ladder 8. They choose the fundraiser beneficiary each year, and you know, it's grown every single year. We have had some minor celebrities all the way to now. This year, there were some major celebrities.
Yeah, not so minor this year.
But you know, I do have to give the major shout out though to the minor celebrities that gave us their time and donated their time to come meet everybody, because having them be part of it helped elevate the event over the years. Having, you know, Eldo Reyes, Joe Cirillo, the Alessi brothers, you know, fans were excited to meet them, and it really elevated it every year. It kept making it something bigger than it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really, it's such a great event on so many levels. It can really touch home for folks on a wide spectrum of fandom in the community. And I think, and you just mentioned it too. I mean, I am not going to belittle the star power that you had at this year's event, pulling, you know, in the rain, pulling those folks from California out in the New York rain. Was something else. But it's got to be fun for you to see folks like Alessi and the supporting cast that may have thought that nobody thinks of Ghostbusters beyond, you know, the core 4 and Sigourney Weaver and that group. But for those of us that we wore our VHS tapes out for 30 years because it wasn't anyway, like, you know, it's just to know that they're remembered, and they are remembered, has got to be something special.
Well, in a fun moment this year, my dad, so my parents have come up from Philly, because I'm originally from Philadelphia. I haven't lived in Buffalo my whole life. Mm-hmm. And my parents have come up the past 3 years. And this year, my dad made it a point to make his way through the crowd, and he walked over and he told the Alessi brothers that A, he was my father, but B, that the Ghostbusters cassette tape was the soundtrack of our road trips growing up. And I always fast forwarded to Saving the Day. That was always my favorite song. Mm-hmm. And the fact that now I'm emailing those guys throughout the year blows my mind. It's
right.
How did that happen?
And I'll say it because I love their website. It's like my dad put together a website, but it's so clearly them. And I sent them a note before I joined Windy City, and I just sent them a quick thank you, because I wasn't as familiar with the entire community. I wasn't sure how connected they were. And I remember sending them a note, thanking them, saying, just so you know, like, Saving the Day is still on my workout playlists. It was something that I put on when I needed to boost my entire life from, you know, my first record when I was like 4 years old was the Ghostbuster soundtrack. Like, they have just been a part of it. And I just sent them a little thank you. And they wrote such a nice response and sent, you know, I got a CD signed by them. It was just such a great feeling to see that. And once again, this weird lineup that Ghostbusters has with just people that want to be good in the community and just be good shepherds around. And you guys have been highlighting that, you know, every year. And Eric, you have seen this event grow from afar as someone you're not directly involved in the planning, but you've been there. How has this event? What was your first?
Than people know.
No, you're right. From afar is very accurate. So I've only attended 2024 and 2025's Ghostbusters Day. Travel stuff, kids, all that stuff. Finally we were able to make it happen. And as somebody who's been to the premieres and has seen a crowd around the firehouse, it's unbelievable. I think it's 10 times more special than those hosted events that we went to. Mm-hmm. You get to see the guys from Hook and Ladder 8 out there kind of doing their thing, getting that appreciation because everyone's telling them thank you. Everybody's smiling, taking photos, checking out the things they're doing at the same time. Their merchandise line is always huge. And then you get to see all the fans come together, and it's amazing to be a part of that. I'm not going to lie, it's something I always wanted to do since the very first one. I still remember when we were working out the details for the first patch that we did, which was the Ghostbusters 2 sign with the bandages around the broken fingers, like it was in real life. And I remember it can't get better than this. Mm-hmm. And then the next year happened. And then the next year happened. And then the next year and the next year. And here we are right now. We are literally 1 month after Ghostbusters Day.
Yeah. And
it's been a month already.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah, today's the 7th.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's exactly 1 month.
Yep. So what were we doing right now? Let's see. Okay. You were still in the rain and I was on my way home.
You were on a plane back to Chicago.
Goodness gracious. I mean, that was a day. And
it really was.
And I think what can easily be lost is the fact that none of us are directly associated with Sony or Ghost Corps, but that team over there, it's not a huge team. They coordinated to put together not only all that is Ghostbusters Give Back, but they worked with our team to talk to Eric, to have a more formal sit down conversation about Ghostbusters Give Back. They worked with you, Dan, to get their A-list out to make the premiere announcement there on the 7th. Mm-hmm. And it's not an easy job, and to get all that together for essentially I'm trying to think of the right word that is polite, but we're just out here bootlegging.
We're nerds
to a certain extent.
It's just a fan gathering or whatever, but yeah.
And it's just incredible, and really shows their generosity and understanding of of our fan base.
Words can't express how much I appreciate Ghost Corps, especially this year with their involvement and with this program that's coming.
And you don't have to get into anything more detailed than you want to, but sure. As far as there's a big gap between Buffalo getting this mass-produced sign to share with Hook and Ladder 8 and you coordinating with the West Coast to bring folks out, to bring Jason Reitman, Carrie Coon, and McKenna Grace out on stage in 2025. Bridge that gap a little bit, for us.
Yeah, because it's been funny, because I have had a few people sort of email me, other franchises and stuff, sort of saying, how do I get Ghost Corps to come out to my event and stuff like that? I'm like, well, it's not just one email or something like that, right? We built this event as a team, as a group. We built this event for 4 years, and it became something that they decided for themselves that they wanted to be a part of. It became so big, and it just became something. I don't want to say that they couldn't ignore, because they weren't ignoring us before. They were always helping and supporting us.
It behooves them to take part in it
at
this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, that's all a part of the effort, and, building it as a team and making it, but that was never our goal, right? We weren't doing it to get Ghost Corps involved. That's a nice bonus. but we
Sure.
did it because of the whole reason that we've all done this to begin with, because we wanted to give back, and we wanted to give back to the firemen. If this went on for 10 more years, 20 more years of just us working with the firehouse, we would have been completely thrilled. That's exactly why we did this. And, Ghost Corps being involved is a cherry on top.
Exactly. And they weren't reaching out until they knew you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that they could trust that. And I think the folks at Hook and Ladder, the folks at Hook and Ladder too. I mean, I don't know New York firefighters, but my family has a history of Chicago firefighters. And one of my great uncle was a fire chief in Chicago for decades, and they do not suffer fools. They do not have time to sit and deal with BS out there. How, obviously there was a very generous offer up front, but what was there trepidation at first, and how do you get to a point where this group is going to allow their street to get shut down, like it's the firehouse across from Wrigley Field during game day, where you got to park these trucks away from the crowds? And
if there was trepidation, I didn't really gauge that.
That's fantastic.
I was put in touch with Nick fairly early on, which the part of the story that I always love to tell is that my initial contact with the firehouse, because they didn't have an Instagram account back when this started, that they started one because of the attention and all of that.
What is it, like the Ghostbusters HQ? What's their Instagram?
Official Ghostbusters HQ.
That's it. Yep.
So they didn't have an Instagram. They didn't have an email. There was no way of contacting them. And then I actually ended up finding an FDNY directory, and I sent them a fax. I went to the UPS store, and I paid 65 cents, and I sent them a fax.
Wow.
And then, I mean, I think they were kind of the same as us at the start. They were like, okay, fine. They want to buy us a sign. We'll take the sign. We'll put it up in the window. Big deal. And then the money kept going, and we were like, hey, we're going to get you the full size one and hang it outside and all that. And
Dan, I can't thank you enough for that one either, because that was always it was cool to have that smaller sign, but the fact that you guys kept going to get that life-size replica, and I don't even know how you begin to figure out how to create a life-size replica of that.
Ghost Corps was helpful with that. They put us in touch
great.
with some sign makers, and we were bouncing the designs back and forth, and Eric was giving notes of things. Like, I remember a specific one. They had the logo tilted, and Eric's point was eyes need to be in line with the horizon. And so we told them that, and they made that change. And so that was fun to be a part of, and it's incredibly fun that now, again, as things progress, now that sign is not only hanging out there, but it's proper. It's hanging the way it was in the movies.
Right.
And now every time we see photos of people, it's like, wow, this whole idea turned into that.
I never thought that would be a thing.
Oh, no.
That could happen.
You have to wonder if some point, if they were like, this is going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
There's at some point you can't deny we're the Ghostbuster Firehouse.
Right.
This is going to happen. And, one thing I love, not only is the sign out front, the full size one, but they still took the Hollywood Collectibles one, and it's inside. You can see it from around the side door.
It's above the window, above the side door on Varick Street.
Yep.
Awesome.
So there's three. There's Ghostbusters 2, the Ghostbusters 1, and the smaller Ghostbusters 1.
I cannot wait to see them in person. I still have never.
It's an experience.
I've never been to the firehouse, and it's on my list. But
Ghostbusters
Eric,
Day 2026. Let's go.
I will bring the 3-year-old with me.
Do it,
dude. You're a braver man than I am.
Yeah,
I got 2 6-year-olds. Dad, are we gonna come with you and Mr. Dan? No.
No.
No,
Yeah.
you're not. We got another couple of years. You got to be this tall to get
Yeah.
on the airplane with Daddy for 3 days in New York.
Be this tall to go to Ghostbusters.
You got to be big enough where someone can't just pick you up and walk away.
Pretty much.
I didn't think of it that way.
It's on the list. I just have to be realistic with myself in terms of what it will take to get out there. But
For sure.
Eric, so let's talk about where you came in. Were you working? Had you had a kind of working relationship with Dan? I know you do artwork for various franchises. How did you get involved in everything?
So Dan and I, the way we became friends. So we've been friends for 6 years. I think six or 7 years.
Call it that. Yeah.
Maybe
Somewhere
it's
around
a decade. Who knows? So a long time ago, I released a patch that themed around Universal Studios in 2019, right when the first Horror Nights came out. And Dan had come to me and asked for a Buffalo style, Universal style shirt. So, and for Daytona as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to Halloween Horror Nights with Daytona Beach. They're my friends.
Oh,
Yep.
very
Going
cool.
down for a hangout, and I wanted a mashup shirt made.
Yep.
So I went to Eric.
So that's kind of how it started. And then, the relationship kept building and building. And when he said he wanted to do a patch, luckily he came to me. And, there's so many great patch makers out there. But, luckily we had the relationship and I was able to take part.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kind of worked with each other on it. Every year there's a ton of spitballing back and forth, throwing stuff against the wall. What are we going to do this year? What are we going to do the year after this? Or is this going to work? Is this going to sell? How much good are we going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I'm proud to say that I've worked with the event for all 5 years.
Yep.
That it's been around. I did, there was the Ghostbusters 2 sign patch. Then there was the Ghostbusters 1 sign to commemorate them getting the full-size sign.
Which isn't confusing at all.
Yeah, I mean,
the JB2 patch was the first year, and the regular patch was the second year.
But who knew? Who knew? And every year I try and play it like this could be it. So
Right.
I want to go out with a bang every single time.
Mm-hmm.
For the third year we had the set of Ghostbusters mugs, the green slime and the pink slime ones. First time anybody had done a mug patch or really touched into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Ghostbusters balloons. I mean, take that to 2024. We had challenge coins, we had patches, we had there's autograph posters. There's so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take it to this year, and Dan just shows me this laundry list of I want to do this. We got CDs, we got maps, we got patches, coins,
license plates.
And it's amazing to be able to say that my contributions to Buffalo helped raise that money. Last year that's when they adopted me into the fold.
He's technically a Buffalo Ghostbuster.
Yes, I am. Technically, I'm a Buffalo adjacent Ghostbuster. No, I love the whole crew there. They've been welcoming since day one. I still won't forget when we got to see each other all for the first time in person, and they handed me the hat that Dan's wearing right now. I'm not wearing mine at the moment, and I'm just sitting there with my sunglasses on. Going, I'm not tearing right now. Stop it. But it's great, and on a personal level, it's amazing to see these designs in person at the event. It's something almost every artist loves to see their stuff in the real world. And when I showed up to Ghostbusters Day this year, there were hats, there were patches, coins, the T-shirts, all the TeePublic stuff that's still available. Just to see that not only do people like the work you're doing,
shirts,
going to the shirts, that's another one on the list. But it all goes towards a good cause too.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because Eric is way too humble. He says he's helped. This event is not the success it is without him. All of this merchandise is crucial to what we're doing. And the fact that he makes these incredible designs that people want to buy, and then we get to turn them into products of, patches, coins, whatever. the event is not remotely the success that it is without that guy right there.
It legitimizes what you're doing, and it brings people back. And because I will say, Dan, please do not take offense to this. I kept hearing like Ghostbusters Day 2025 is going to be the biggest one yet, and after 2024, I'm thinking there is no way, that you get bigger than the 40th because you're getting the people that are going for that number. I mean, I'm sure you still have the goosebumps from watching these ectos turn the corner in front of the firehouse on that event, and then this year, once again, even more. But I couldn't believe the size, and on a rainy day, all the folks that are coming out.
And you know what? I actually, it's funny because people don't believe me when I say this. I love that it finally rained at one of these events, because for 4 years now, every once in a while, there's been like some bad weather reports, or, for the 40th, there were the Canadian wildfires and people were worried about air pollution and all that. And so every year people are like, oh, is the event rain or shine? And I'm like, yeah, we can't just all of a sudden be like, oh, no, never mind, Ladder 8, we're going to come tomorrow. Like, a lot goes into this. We have to be there on the day that we say we're going to be there. And so, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, oh no, what's going to happen if it pours rain one of these years? Like, is everybody going to bail? Is nobody going to show up and all that? And we got to see this year, nope, everybody will hang out. They don't care if they get wet. They're just going to hang out. And it was amazing. It really was.
With smiles on their faces.
Yes. And that's one of the things, last week we had Chris from the New York City Ghostbusters.
Love him.
The Baby Belushi Buster. But that was one of the things that, like, the highlights. And I had the biggest grin on my face just watching him out there doing his Blues Brothers dance in the rain. And yes, and it creates a story, and it creates imagery that's going to keep people coming. And also, I'm just going to throw it out there. Ghostbusters Day rain ponchos.
There you go. Eric, start designing.
$5 a pop. But,
what we call it, Liberg's ghost repellers?
Surge pricing if it starts to rain. But I think you guys are doing it's just an incredible job, and we're all realistic. We're not going to be drawing 500 people in front of the firehouse for the next 50 years. Now, maybe you know what? I want to eat my words. I hope I eat my words. But
I think you might.
We're in really just this renaissance period of being Ghostbuster fans, and so much has. There's been such a confluence between the professional studio and the fandom, and I think having so many years to kind of live out as these feral fans without a lot going on from the studio side of things, built up a thick skin and a survivalist mentality, and folks figured out, we were a pretty robust group on our own. And now when you add the backing and support of folks like Sony, we as a collective fan group are ready to take the ball and run with it and can carry our weight. And to the fact that, Dan, I mean, you had a blue Kenner Proton Pack, I'm guessing,
of course,
growing up. And now here at an event that you are helping organize, you have Hasbro coming out to set up shop, because what better way to get the word out on what's coming up?
To do product reveals. Yeah. That one was crazy when they told me, because, they came out last year and they brought the PKE and the Trap to show off the status of those, as the HasLab was in production. And I've become very good friends with, the Hasbro team. Pat and Emily are great. Zach, awesome. And, this year when I was sort of planning everything, I was like, you guys coming again? They were like, oh, yeah, we'll definitely be there. Bare minimum, we're going to show off the Ecto. I was like, okay, great. That's awesome. And then I forget when it was, but Pat ended up telling me, he was like, yeah, so you're getting some product reveals this year. I was like, what? I was like, you
Move
said
over,
plural.
San Diego
You said
Comic-Con.
more than one. He was like, yeah, you're getting 3. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And the news, I mean, how quickly did it spread as soon as they set up shop there?
Oh,
it
yeah.
was all over Facebook, all over Instagram. But
Yeah, and
very
to have
exciting.
that at our event was incredible. But, you know, to go back, I think to something you were saying earlier about, you know, can it get bigger, or, you know, is it always going to be like this? That's the funny thing. Every year of this, we think we have peaked. We're like, okay, it's never going to be bigger than that. And then every year, it is bigger than that.
Mhm.
And that genuinely is attributable to the fans. I mean,
Mhm.
all of those people that travel from literally around the world
Yep.
to come hang out in front of that firehouse and raise money is absolutely incredible. And it's not lost on me that,
Mhm.
you know, they're doing that for an event that we're planning, and that it's, you know, it makes all the effort worth it when you see how much people care about it.
Right.
And in that regard, we don't have the final tally yet for this year because we still have some things left to sell. But as of today, we just passed last year's number.
Congratulations. We'll take
So
it.
we are over $43,500.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Unfortunately, all that goes on last year's book, so it does not get to go towards Ghostbusters Give Back. Just
You're
yet,
wrong.
But you guys are going to be the first folks to earn that gold badge.
Hey, I
there.
hope so.
Well, congratulations.
We got a ways to go. We're not there yet, but I hope so.
That's fantastic. And
It really is. I mean, last year when we hit 40, that was a huge thing. We were like, oh man, what if we hit 40,000 for the 40th? Didn't think it would happen, but
No.
it did. And I literally told everyone in the group last year, probably around August, I was like, well, here's the good news. Next year will definitely be a step down. We don't have to worry about it. We're not doing this again.
Mhm.
And then we did.
Right.
Yep.
Because yeah, and I mean to the point that you're helping secure discounted group blocks at area
at hotels.
hotels and so let's say first of all, before I forget it, because it is a question that I've thought of at different points, and Terry from the Sioux City team want to know, is there a fund for upkeep on the sign to make sure that the Mooglie stays sparkling out front, or what's the care? Is it like donate, like when you have an adopt a highway marker? Do you guys have a day where you all come out in the fall and polish it up for
Every New York Comic Con, I'm just up there
Yeah.
on a step ladder. Just
exactly. Yeah, like Marty.
It's a
Yeah.
swimsuit car wash kind of thing.
Yeah.
When he just gets up on the ladders.
to be honest, it has never come up.
It still looks good.
Yeah, I think basically, you know, general weather and stuff kind of keeps it fairly clean. You know, if
Mhm.
it gets rained on, that washes off any dust or whatever.
And it gets
Um,
authentic.
Yeah,
Every time something happens to it, it gets more and more movie accurate.
there you go.
Absolutely. That's so that came through, and I did think about that. It's like, what is the
I
upkeep?
like
I
that.
don't know.
That's a
Do
good
they
question.
just spray it down? You know, when they're cleaning the trucks, you know, they've got the powerful hose, so they just soap it up and spray it down themselves. But
Pull
Well,
out the truck, the ladder comes up, and
yeah,
then just backs it right back down.
I will be messaging Nick as soon as we are done with this.
yeah, good, Chad. I think that's a good idea. We should
Adopt a
have an adopt a
Mooglie. I
Mooglie.
love it.
Yep.
But you know, from there, I think it's okay to dive in a little bit on the Ghostbusters Give Back.
Yes.
And you know, the Buffalo team, you are now known worldwide with, you know, what you've been doing there. And there are so many franchises that are still in that early stage, finding a void, and now they're hearing this announcement and saying, I want to compete. I think it's great that there's something for everybody of all sizes with Ghostbusters Give Back. But if you're looking at this and saying, let me compete with Buffalo and New York City and the folks at Circle City and even Windy City, how do we get there? Dan, is there anything that you've been putting together as you've become more of a household franchise in terms of kind of how to present the group? Are there different ways that you're now tackling fundraising than what you used to? Where have you seen Buffalo grow when it comes to, let's take Ghostbusters Day aside. We can't count that for everybody to replicate. But what are some ways that you would recommend to folks that are, and Eric, that chime in as well. You've been around long, way longer than me on this one. So what are some ways or some tips you might give to teams looking to really start to take the reins of their fundraising?
Sure. So what I always love to point out is, Buffalo, we're a very blue collar city. We're not bringing in crazy numbers outside of Ghostbusters Day, but that's okay. Like, I don't want any teams in regards to this program. I don't want anybody to get discouraged or feel like they're not competing, because at the end of the day, even though it is a competition and there is a trophy at the end of it, all it really should be doing is pushing all of us to just raise even more money, whatever that is, whatever you're raising. If you only raise $500 and you don't even get the first patch, I know that would be a disappointment to not get a patch, but you still did $500 that wouldn't have gone to charity otherwise. Exactly. In Buffalo's first year of fundraising, we did $146, and we were thrilled.
Yep.
It's okay. Don't get discouraged by this. Aim high, go for something. That's okay. But don't get caught up too much in what you're not getting. Just worry about what you're doing and focus on the positive of what you're bringing into the fandom, because whatever you're doing more than if you did nothing.
That's a great point. And I think it's easy to overlook it, but nobody almost every event, at least that Windy City is doing, no one that's walking in front of our table set out to come to any of the events that we're at to say, and let me bring a few extra bucks to throw towards La Rabida Children's Hospital with the Windy City Ghostbusters. Right. Every single penny is because somebody got a kick out of seeing what we've set up, or they've seen that their kids have a smile on their face, or they just see that we're out there on a 100-degree summer day at a baseball park wearing a flight suit and 30-pound proton packs, sweating our what's off, and they just want to throw a little bit there, because this is not, no one's donating $100 at a time. Like, these are $5 donations, $10 donations. Occasionally someone might throw a 20 in there, but like, everything is small, and you have to start somewhere. No one is expecting to pay you or to donate to you when they leave. So if you come away with anything, that's a victory, because you've pried hard-earned money from someone based on making them smile. Exactly. or appreciating what you're doing for the community.
And a simple thing that we started doing at our first local event since Ghostbusters Day, we just had a 3-day Comic-Con here called Nickel City Con. And we always, as most franchises do, we always have a donation jar out to just take cash, or, it's a tip for taking a picture or whatever. But we put a sign next to that with the Ghostbusters Give Back logo on it. And said, we're proud to be a part of this. Sony is matching up to $150,000 in donations. And that certainly seemed to push our donations a bit higher than in past conventions.
That's a great point. And I think that's something, and we touched on it a little bit with our roundtable, but what we didn't talk about is more clear language about exactly where the money is going, and reaffirming that their donation is not adding another trap to somebody's utility belt.
Right.
And I think
Going
that's
to
a great
Starlight.
point.
It's for hospital gowns for kids. It's a fantastic charity.
Right. And easy to read. Less
Yep.
is more. You do not need anyone to pick it up to look
Right.
at it like it's a wine list. Make sure it's clear, concise, and if you're a 501c3, make sure that's included on there. But
Yep.
let someone that's just passing by be able to absorb that really quickly. And for those that do outside events, which is most of us, have some table weights so those
Yep.
signs don't fly away in the wind. Even I think we bought some weighted um, frames, and you need to bring your own, because they're not going to be heavy enough if you buy just the weighted frames. But make sure you have something to keep that upright. But great point, Dan. Just be clear that this is going to a cause. And again, I brought it up last week. Make sure that anybody that's going to be around the donation area knows their pitch.
Yep.
10-second pitch. Just say who you are, what you're raising money for, and don't be afraid to ask. It's uncomfortable, but shoot low. They're gonna, if you get some quarters, that's great. But I'll always say, if you got 50 cents in your pocket, great. If $10 donation, you can get this great patch over here. But just make sure you're prepared for the ask, and the more you do it, the easier it gets to throw that out there, because it's okay. People are going to say no, but if you don't ask, if you're not making that ask, it's a numbers game. You got to make sure you're.
And if they say, like that, it was a 3-day convention, they're like, oh, I might stop by, later. Just be like, great, we're here all 3 days. Like, leave it on a positive note and let them come back.
And if you have business cards or anything with a QR code, and if you can set something up for online donations as well, that goes. I'm always surprised when people say, no, I'll do the online donation, and then I always get surprised that people actually did at the end of an event go through and do it. So
we have a QR code for ours.
Great. Yeah. So those, I would say those are some really solid ideas, and thank you for that reminder that you're not here to blow the doors down. You're not here to raise $40,000 when you're set up at a local library's pop culture fest somewhere. So take in what you can get, and keep in mind people are not prepared. So do not get discouraged if you have some of those days that just aren't drawing. But
and if they don't have monies, if they say, oh, I don't have any cash on me today, and they turn away from the QR code or online donations, give them a business card and say, like, oh, we'll be out and about throughout the year. Hopefully we see you at another event. Like, just always leave it on a positive note.
Yeah.
My recommendation.
So make sure that so invest in the materials that you need to make sure you're staying in front of people and staying top of mind. That's a good investment. If you can get the business cards, get some signs, get some postcards, something, put some postcards together for $1 donation, the things that don't cost all that much to mass produce. So all those I think are great starting points. And
I mean, I've seen, so part of, early on, and even now a little bit, I still get messages from newer franchises that are just starting up, or smaller ones, when I design patches for them, oh, we're just getting started. And it's nice to, you have to think about the fundamentals. Everything Dan just mentioned is 100% accurate. You want to be transparent. If you want to make sure people always know the money is going to the right place. That when I started when I did my first fundraiser, it was selling our first patches. We raised $260. And the one thing I always wanted to make sure was everybody knew the money went to the right spot. And again, I think picking a cause is probably something you want to put a lot of hard work, a lot of thought into. We do Feeding America every year. We tried Ronald McDonald House, I tried to split it around a little bit, but I found that having that annual focus, much like the things that go towards Hook and Ladder 8, whether they vary, they still go towards that same kind of theme. Works in your advantage because people, for example, let's just say you wanted to donate to Toys for Tots versus Feeding America the next year, and you notice that there's a big difference between donations from one event or for one cause versus another. You kind of learn through experience, and Dan could probably testify. You probably could too. Trial and error is inevitable. It's going to happen. But I think another solid way for people to help up themselves in the competition is to remember to have fun with it. If you're in your franchise and everybody gets along great, that positive environment will help fuel the positivity that's at the booth. So when you're talking to these people, nobody's looking sad or bored. Everyone's engaging, and then trying to find your own unique way to raise funds. We started off with patches, and then I had the instant collection raffle, where I had people send patches and pins from all over the world to raise money for Feeding America. That was my little niche. I love patches, obviously with all the work I do. So that's something I wanted to bring into the fold. Maybe there's always something, Chicago. Yeah, we're going to make Chicago hot dogs for people for charity or something like that. There's, if you find your groove and get your footing, there's no reason why you can't be successful.
Sure.
And it's like you guys just got done talking about success is not measured by how much money you raise in that board. I mean, if I was so proud to raise $200, I couldn't believe it. I was thank God.
You should have been.
Yeah. I mean, especially with somebody who doesn't have a physical presence out there with everybody else.
Absolutely.
I'm just technically this guy on the screen that posts crossword puzzles once in a while. But since little trial and error and little experimenting here and there, I've raised $3,000 in 4 years.
There you go.
It's incredible.
And I couldn't be any happier with the people in the group. We all have top fans and all of that, but you get to see the actual contributors, and it just builds that spirit that makes you just want to keep going. So,
and to Eric's point about like finding a niche and finding, so like one of the things that we do at our booth, that this was just a spitballing idea that ended up becoming one of our most popular things. We bought a cheap cornhole set and skinned. There it is. Thank you. Reskinned it into a ghost trap. And then we got custom bags made that are little ghosts, and it's called Trap the Ghost. And depending on how many points you get, you win a prize. But no matter what, you win a prize. So even like little kids who don't get any points, they still get a prize. And that has been one of our biggest moneymakers now, where people love trying to play.
And you get competitive with the people in your group too.
Oh yeah,
So
when it's dead,
wants to do
we all sit there and play for sure.
Oh no, I'm talking. Two families go up that know each other. One of them does the bags. You guys make sure you outdo the other one, so it's one where you can get people to get competitive and keep going. That's a great idea, and that's not a huge lift as far as getting creative. And Dan, are you giving license for people to steal this idea if they
have at it, guys?
If they need it. But I think that's, and we talked a little bit about this on our roundtable right after Ghostbusters Day. Take a look. There are those sites that I normally don't want to buy things on. Was it like Alibaba or some of the places that are more kind of factory direct? You can buy some of these smaller prizes in bulk, not a huge upfront investment, and it can last you the year. And now you've got a variety of different, pins, little toys, things that you can give away. And they also had great ideas. The folks at Circle City, they're giving away Twinkies and Crunch Bar. It's like, okay, yeah, these are things associated with Ghostbusters and their low investments up front with a high return on that. So those are all fantastic ideas, and I do want to let everyone know, as long as Eric's here and I can plug your work, but it's safe to say our biggest money maker is patches that we sell. We have our official patches that we put on our uniforms, but then we have a public facing patch. So if you're not a member, you've got a similar looking patch, but it's got a red border around it. It's a little bit different, but it's unique, and people love those patches. So if you do not have, if you have a little bit of money to invest up front, reach out to someone like Eric to help you design and get something, because those kinds of things, if you wind up working at a Comic-Con type event, that, what, big or small, I'm talking local library to a convention center, that crowd loves a patch, and if you are a fan of Ghostbusters, you have to love, it's a rule, you have to love patches if you're a fan of Ghostbusters,
especially and I'll use Windy City and Buffalo as a good example. The Windy City Ghostbusters patch is a Chicago flag. It's Chicago themed. The Buffalo one, as you can see on Dan's arm, has a buffalo wing.
A chicken wing. Not
chicken wing. I'm sorry. I'll just hang my head down for a second. Okay, that's enough. People can identify, especially when you're on a local level, people can identify that. It's not like you're going to take 100 Chicago patches to California and sell them.
Sure. Yeah.
But people who live in Chicago have that connection.
Local branding.
And then all of a sudden, somebody else, somebody sews it on their bag. Then somebody else sees it, and somebody else sees it. Words. I don't know how many people have seen my vest in the past and asked, "Where can I get that one?" or "Who got that one from?" I have random people asking me, "Do you know who made this one?" Actually, I do buy random cheese. Yes, it was this guy, or it was me. It was,
Yeah.
And I know there's some intimidation when it comes to patches because they can be expensive, depending on how you play the game. But shop around. There's a lot of good makers. There's a lot of great, fantastic artists that do phenomenal work. And having that identity helps so much. I love walking into Ghostbusters Day and seeing 30 different arm patches. Because I want to stop. I want to look at them. Or do I have this one in my collection? Where's this one from? It sparks conversations. It gives people awareness of your group, especially if you're a new group and you show up with a shiny new patch. Everybody wants to know what it's about.
Everybody's like, I haven't seen that one before. What one is that?
Especially when there's that, like you mentioned, there's that local pride. Like if you are a general fan of Ghostbusters and you come by and you see a way that you've incorporated something local that you're proud of onto a Ghostbusters theme, anything, you got to get it. It's and so the investment will pay off. You're right, there's that upfront investment, and maybe it isn't a year one thing. Maybe you're able to talk to the group, take a vote. Hey, can we take a little bit of what we our year end total and invest it in some patches, because we expect we'll be able to double that profit, or double that spend next year if we have these patches. Like it's an investment up front, but it pays off. Those things go like hotcakes at certain events, and then other events, if it's more little kid focused, that's where you might focus less on something like the patches and more on some groups are selling slime, and I know there's some how much do you want to? Something like slime can get a little bit messy, or a little bit.
Sure.
You can get a parent may not like that. There's something that can mess up the car, or something that you're selling there. But as long as there are things that you can do. Adjust what it is based on what it is. But,
I think back to the keychains from Ollie's. Those plush keychains. These guys and myself both went out to our Ollie's and just bought a bunch of them because they were
that's what we use as prizes for our Trap the Ghost game. It's
Yep.
$5 to play, and we, a lot of plushies. We have some action figures. We have some 3D printed mini puffs. But all that stuff works. And I think it's also important, though, focusing on smaller groups that are starting out and they're sort of spinning their tires. I think it's important that not every event has to be focused on money. Don't worry about, is this a moneymaker? Sure. Worry about getting your name out there. Worry about showing people what your group is about and just having fun, taking photos, and having a good time while being a positive influence on your community.
Yep.
Right.
Keep
and that's
moving
where
forward.
You're making connections. If you are, working with your local town to, help build event. Maybe they're doing a movie in a park type night. These are things where you are now making connections, and if you're making connections with the local government of the town, those can be, big wigs, business people, in the town, or they're sitting on a board of, a local charity, all things that you might be able to parlay into that next step of growth and visibility for the group too. So, great points, everybody across the board there, and also some great points in the chat. And we've had a very active chat, so I want to thank everybody in the chat and for talking today. And I have enjoyed every time something from the chat pops up. Eric is trying to look over the.
That's exactly what Eric's doing right now.
He's on top of it. I'm on my phone, so I can barely read anything that's popping up.
Oh, are you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I throw them up every once in a while, but we are sort of approaching the top of the hour, and I want to thank our guests here. So once again, we have Dan, and it's Liberg, right? Is it the Hard Eye?
Liberg, yes.
Okay, Dan Liberg from the Buffalo Ghostbusters, Eric Christenson from the Mooglie fan club. You two are just stellar examples of what makes this community great, and all of your hard work and generosity over the years. I love that. I love
this guy.
This thing is amazing.
I know. It doesn't.
There's a mini Mooglie is being shown on Eric's screen for those that are listening to the podcast version of the show.
He has.
Look at that resemblance.
That is perfect. Perfectly resembles the Mooglie fan club logo. So that's pretty impressive. But you can't thank you guys for the generosity of your time and for just your generosity of spirit that you've shown over the years. Dan, this wasn't something that you planned, but you grabbed the bull by the horns on Ghostbusters Day. And Eric, you as well. You didn't think that you were going to be making a multi-year commitment to continue this.
He's not going anywhere. If I'm doing this, he's doing this.
It's fantastic, and it's something that before I joined Windy City, I saw what you guys did, and it brought a spotlight onto the fact that Ghostbusters give back. Ghostbusters are out here just trying to do good in the community, and it's fantastic. So for all the smiles over the years, thank you both for what you've done to contribute to that. It's an honor having you here. And once again, I'm going to apologize to pillar of the Ghostbusters community, Bob Anderson. He is streaming live on his channel, Bob After Dark, here on Twitch. And I have no idea how to send all of the viewers that we have over to his broadcast. There's a way to do it. I have no idea how to do it. I told Bob I'd figure it out by this week, and I lied. So everybody, if you have some time, go search for Bob After Dark and let him know that we sent you, and extend my apologies for not being able to just dump all of you into his feed. But thank you, everyone, for the time. Thank you to my guests, and both of you are always welcome. If there's anything that we can help promote or just give a little bit of a spotlight to, even if you just want to come on for 5 or 10 minutes up front to talk really quickly, if there's just you're always welcome here. Just reach out, let us know. We're happy to help you make sure that you're getting as many eyes on what's going on as possible. So on that note, I think we really did make some progress in just finding out exactly why we bust, and we'll do this again. We'll see you all in another week or two, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, man.